Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mike at Northwest School of Fly Fishing, the old fish hobo. And I want to talk to you today about 4 essential things or items or tools that will help you become a better dry fly fisherman. And it's in the fall right now, and the blue-winged olive mayflies are out in all our rivers of the West. And I've been casting tiny olive mayflies to rising fish, and I've been casting tiny emergent midge pupa patterns to rising fish, and both of these hatches, and I could probably say for most hatches in general, it can be a little tricky. And I know for a fact that every blue-winged olive hatch I'm on and every midge hatch that I'm on, I'm seeing different things, and I can have all the things that I need to be
in the winter
effective on the water. I can have the best dry fly rod that you can buy. I can have the best dry fly line, the best leader. I can have all the flies I need, and still that's not going to help me. There are certain things that I can do from a cerebral standpoint to help me figure out what's happening in front of me and to be best match the fly that I need for that hatch. So we're really talking about not so much the cerebral things, but we're talking about things that are items that we can have that will help us in that cerebral process. There's a lot of things that we need to know about any kind of hatch. In my case, a midge hatch and a mayfly hatch. There's lots of things that we need, and we spend a lifetime gathering this knowledge. That's a cerebral thing. I'm talking about tangible tools that you hold in your hands that help you cut through the confusion sometimes on the river. And outside of a good selection of flies and a good selection of a good select fly rod that really moves the way you like it to do, there are things that we should have on hand that will make you a better dry fly fisherman. And this is what this video is all about. What are these things? I'm talking about not having lots of flies and fly rods and things. I'm talking about having these tools on hand that unlock the mystery that may be happening in front of me. And they are, number one, is you need a seine or a seine. And what that is just a fine mesh that fits in the water where the current is going into it. And they're fairly inexpensive. I think the last time I bought one, I got 2 for $5 over Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. And what they are basically a net in the shape of a hoop that goes on a 3-gallon paint or a 3-gallon bucket, and painters pour their paint in there, and it seines out all the lumps and clogs in it, and then they can put it in their paint gun, spray it without anything. So that's a seine. And the neat thing about these seines is they have a elastic band on them, and they just fit in your landing net, and they crumble up into a fine ball, and you just pop them out and stick them in there, and you stick them on the water. And what I use a seine for is I'm seeing things on the water, and I can't quite figure out what these fish are eating, or I know for a fact they have to be eating a midge, but I'm not too sure what size that midge is, and I don't have any adults flying around. I can lay that in the current for a few minutes, and when I bring it up, I can look at it and I can see the emergent midge pupas on there, and they're size 24s. They're not size 20s, they're size 24s. And that's important, because what you're trying to do with a dry fly is trick a trout into eating your fake fly that they take for an artificial fly. In order to do that, we have to trigger that strike. And that's called a trigger mechanism. And two of the things on the trigger mechanism is size and color. So putting a seine out there will immediately let me know how small those midges are, or how small those blue-winged olives are. And now I can go back to my fly box and I can find the right color and I can choose the right size. And that is critical. Without that answer, we can just be throwing anything out there and hoping that we get a lucky strike. When we can really nail it down, we can really nail down the size, and we can really nail down the color, and then catch a lot of fish that way. Number 2 is a shrimp net. Shrimp nets, to my mind, I mean, I keep it in my pocket when I'm on the river during a hatch. What a shrimp net is, it's just a small little aquarium net that has a retractable, like a pointer. And in the river, and I can't grab bugs in the water with my hand. It's impossible. And I can't catch them in the air, and I can't use my hat to catch them. It's in the winter, it's cold. But with a shrimp net, it allows me to reach out and walk over and grab something right off the water, the adult maybe, or the newly hatched blue-winged olive dun. And now with that white background, I can see exactly the size, and I can see exactly the color. Again, we get back to that trigger mechanism. And then I can go back to my fly box and I can choose the right size and right color. If the color of the blue-winged olive body or the midge body is different than what I have markers that I can color that body in, because that's part of the trigger mechanism: impression, size, and color. So that trout is triggered right at a distance. It sees the mirror and it's triggered by something in the mirror. It's now triggered. And when that impression gets to its window where it can see the clouds, it's gonna come up. And if the other 2 trigger mechanisms are there, the right size and the right color, you have a take. If that's not there, then you have a refusal. So having a shrimp net really helps you to pick that off the water very quickly. Number 3 is you got to have fly floating, and both in a liquid and a dry shake form. Because again, the trigger mechanism revolves around you being able to have an impression of this aquatic insect on, in, or under the meniscus or the mirror. And when we're dealing with a hatching emerger where it's half in, half out, we want to be able to have that trigger coming in, because that's all the trout are feeding on, is that emerger. And being able to see that identifies to that. And with a hatcher emerger, half of the fly is in or on or under the meniscus, and half the fly is on the surface. So we want to take that half that's on the surface and we want to put fly floating on that. We want that part of the fly above, and it gets back to impressions and size and color. So fly floating is very, very important, and I wear a lanyard, and I always have one of each on there. And lastly, some controversial about this, I don't see it as controversial, but having a stomach pump and a petri dish with a lid on it. I don't pump a lot of trout stomach, but I always pump one, and it's not, doesn't hurt the trout at all if you're done correctly. And each one of these pumps come with directions. Just put it in their esophagus, release, and you have it. It goes in the petri dish, put the lid on. I can look at the sun. I can look exactly what these fish are eating, the exact aquatic insect, and then I can match that. These are the 4 tools that you should have on hand when you're dry fly fishing. These tools are going to help you answer those questions that you're having, those cerebral events that's going on around you. I don't understand this. I can't. What are they doing? What should I do? Blah, 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 blah. And it just locks us in the state of inability. And we finally get to the point where I got to do something, and it becomes a guessing game. And at the end of the guessing game, you get X amount of trout. However, if you just add these tools and learn how to use them and have them, you may not use all 4, you may use only 1, or you may use 2, or you may use all 4 in concert. But what they do is they unlock that mystery, and they make your decisions up here reflect on how you're fishing from that point on. And again, the end result is it's going to make you a better dry fly fisherman during that hatch. And the end results will be you'll catch more fish and you'll enjoy more fights with trout. I like to use all four of them. You may have one or two other things that you use. This is by far not the final sheet. As an old fish hobo who's fished over thousands of hatches, these are my go-to pieces, and I can tell you for a fact that on many occasions that using one of these four or these four in concert has really unlocked a mystery for me, and I was really able to land a lot of trout. And in the very end, one of the things that gets us going back to the river is it's not the fish that we caught, it's that we figured it out. We figured it out. And that's what this is all about. Well, I hope in the future that you can use these things and you can find them on Amazon, probably half the price that you can find them on a fly shop. But hopefully you'll take those on the rivers with you during a hatch. And if I'm lucky, I'll be downriver watching you.